Welcome to Al Dente Rigamortis. I'm Review Claus.
And I'm the Grinch in yellow.
And we're here to discuss those internet stories, most creepy and most pasta, and be critically silly doing it. And tonight, because it is still SCP-Cember, we are handling an SCP entry. SCP-1678, otherwise known as Unlondon.
Otherwise known as 2078.
Don't know what you're talking about. We totally didn't accidentally grab an entry before, and I shared it with you guys, and you're like, hey, this SCP, we've done it before, and I had to check it. I was like, shit. Let me just pull another XX78 entry from our list.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many. It was bound to happen.
Yeah. We've been going on the show. This is literally our 501st episode.
Yes.
So yeah, we're about to have some accidental reduxes or like redos, or rereads. But now that I've properly gone through my SCP list of SCPs that we've tackled and highlighted the ones we've done, now we have a comprehensive list of ones we haven't done for now. And you might be wondering, hey, where's Mikey? The E stands for evil. Well, he got a little too far into the Nog during the holidays, so
he's knocked off.
He nogged off, yeah. So yeah, he can't make it this episode. But we are going to soldier on into the new year, almost, with this entry, SCP-1678. This one's by AstronautJoe on the SCP Wiki. And before we dive into our initial rundowns and stuff like that, let's do our initial recommendations. I'm going to recommend this one.
I'm going to recommend this one. That's how you say.
That's you, that is.
Yeah. Is also my recommendation.
Okay, I was like, is this just being like a snarky attitude? It's like, no, that's what you sound like.
I was literally going to say the same thing, so I might as well actually copy you.
Nice, you copy pasted me. Nice.
Damn right.
All right, well let's dive into the rundown and find out why we recommend this story. Or no, so let's dive into the story and find out why we recommend it. Starting with the rundown, not featuring The Rock because it's an SCP entry. What's wrong with you? I'm also just fair warning, I did not write up my own synopsis of this entry. I just took clips from the actual entry that were just as succinct.
Okay.
So that's what if the rundown sounds familiar, if you're reading the SCP entry, it's because I just wholesale took clips from it. I copy pasted for the rundown. I didn't not all of it, but just bits that fit in what I was going to say anyways. So
those of you that want us to just read the story, this is the closest you're going to get.
Damn right. All right, so SCP-1678 is a full-scale mirror image reconstruction of the British city of London, located exactly 1 kilometer underneath the original city of London. SCP-1678 is believed to have been constructed instantaneously by unknown means, with the SCP-1678 Houses of Parliament serving as the epicenter for the construction process. This is evidenced by the fact that as distance from the House of Parliament increases, there is an exponentially increasing frequency of flaws in the construction of SCP-1678. 1678 is believed to have been constructed with the intent to harbor the survivors of an XK-class end-of-the-world event. The key threat posed by SCP-1678 is by entities referred to in some SCP-1678 audio recordings known as Bobbies, also known as SCP-1678-A. These entities are constructs created from repurposed body parts from former inhabitants of the city, reassembled and given new purpose. Similar entities, such as 1678-C and B, have similar but less violent purposes for the city. SCP-1678 remains only partially contained. Mobile Task Force Tau 4 and Epsilon 6 have succeeded in establishing a defensible perimeter around the Hyde Park district of SCP-1678, with cases of SCP-1678-A largely ceasing their attacks on the perimeter of the Foundation-held area. Long-term aims involve efforts to halt, hinder, and control the production of 1678-A entities, and to assault the SCP-1678 Houses of Parliament, where the being, entity, or intelligence responsible for the creation of SCP-1678 is believed to be residing, and to capture and contain the aforementioned being. It is currently unclear what entity, being, or intelligence is responsible for the creation and maintenance of SCP-1678. It is unclear as to what event or disaster SCP-1678 is being prepared for.
By the way, shouldn't
Yes.
they be saying secure and contain instead of capture and contain?
Oh,
SCP Foundation. Secure,
Yeah.
contain, protect.
Yeah, seriously. Man, wow. That's
Getting
going to be...
grammar in real early.
Yeah. But yeah, that's SCP-1678 in a nutshell, otherwise known as Unlondon. It's a city beneath the city of London that is an exact duplicate, except for like it's a little bit more limited in its scope.
And it's Victorian.
Oh yes, and it's also the aesthetic is also the aesthetic of the city is that of architecture resembling from the Victorian period rather than modern day tech and stuff.
Yeah, but it's not like the way London was back then. It's
because like
the skies and like the huge skyscrapers are Victorian style.
There's the various skyscrapers and stuff that are in the modern version of London are down there, but they're now done up like a Victorian era building. So
it's just a way cooler London. Sorry.
Yeah. Get it together, London. Enough with this sleek progress.
I think anyone would agree with me if there was a massive city that was Victorian style, but like modern stuff as well.
With the popularity of steampunk.
Yes.
And by gaslight, like sort of like counterculture and like cosplayers, like 100%, like people would be coming to this city in droves if they knew about it.
Damn right. Start digging.
Yeah. I mean, when you're digging in London, you're either going to hit a strange duplicate city of itself that's in Victorian era, or dragons.
Both are interesting to find.
Indeed. But that is the end of the rundown. I suppose we'll move on to everyone tolerance or grammar inquisitions at this point. I've got a couple, actually. I think this one may or may not count as one, but I added it to it anyway. Aside from Foundation occupants and cases of SCP-1678 A, B, and C, SCP-1678 is believed to be uninhabited. Then, I mean, that sounded a little contradictory to me, but I mean, you read it a certain way, it works, but if you read the other way, it's like, then it's, you added like aside from Foundation occupants and the cases of all these other creatures, it's uninhabited.
Aside from the billion people living in London on the surface, it's uninhabited.
It's uninhabited. yeah. And I mean, technically it's correct, but I mean that it's inhabited. It's being habitated.
It should just the only inhabitants of this city are SCP entities.
Yeah.
Or SCP ABC.
Yeah. They've not recovered any human survivors.
Yes.
And then my next thing here, SCP-1678 audio transcript entrance. The sky has broken. The ground heaves with the tramp of terrible feet, and all the horror and madness from the dark corners of the world has broken free to exact its vengeance on the world of man. I know it's dialogue, but it should be, and all the horror and madness from the dark corners of the world have broken free to exact their vengeance on the world.
Didn't you say revengeance?
I accidentally said revengeance. I meant vengeance.
Okay, I thought you were gonna say it's like a combination of revenge and vengeance, which is fine ish.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, it's like that that other Marvel group. It's like instead of the Avengers, we're the Revengers. But that is all I have for Grammar Inquisition. So, Gamer or Grinch, what do you have?
I ain't got anything.
Okay. Weird. It's an SCP entry that got tons of tons of eyes on it for scrutiny and editing. There's not a lot of Grammar Inquisition.
There's rarely any in any of them.
It's very like
how popular they are.
Yeah.
Big chip over there at the Foundation.
Yeah. No, it's amazing what happens when you have like multiple eyes of different people like reading through your story, and then like that are also able to edit the files and such.
So how does, completely off topic, how does that work? Like, people are able to edit it, but what's stopping them from like changing the story?
I think there's things that like I like looking at. I'm actually diving into the website's history, like this web page's history. There's they leave comments and stuff.
Oh, okay. And then
they leave comments to be like, and then like either a moderator or an admin or the original author goes in and fixes it and such.
Okay, cool. That is the right way to do it.
Yeah, actually, this will be good. A good tie into my first actual thought, which is what we're diving into next.
Yes.
The image that accompanies the story, which is a cool and fairly accurate depiction of the SCP-1678A, which is a reanimated Frankenstein's monster corpse of a person, like they with different body parts, with like with their face completely bandaged up and dressed in a Bobby's outfit. And a Bobby being a Victorian slang for policeman in London.
Also the son of Hank Hill.
Yes. God damn it, Bobby. Gonna get that propane. Now, from what I actually just read in the comments and what I read last night when I was gathering my notes for this episode, there wasn't originally a previous photo of just a normal Bobby on this in this story, but the current version, like the current photo we have in this entry, was specifically created for this entry and replaced the old photo. And fairly recently, like as recently as like the last, like in like the 20 in like 21 22 time, like year, so like 2021 2022. So I thought that was really cool that like somebody, like there was an old photo of like a Bobby of some kind for the story that that the creator probably just used as like a play, like either like this was the original inspiration, like it was kind of weird, but it was like it was out there in the internet that they found and used it for their story, and then somebody actually made a photo that is specifically for this entry rather than a generalized photo.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Because it definitely, like the photo shown, like actually really gives us like kind of like there is something weird about that Bobby.
You know what's kind of weird though? That it's not a modern photo. It's
it's a newspaper clipping. It's a newspaper clipping almost, looks like it has the halftone. It has like the halftone shading and stuff like that you see in old newspapers.
Yeah, you're right. It's either newspaper or like an old. It's meant to look like an old photo, maybe.
Well,
I don't know.
Does the story actually? I don't think the story actually gives us a time when this story was, or when this SCP entry or this SCP was discovered. So like maybe it was like from an earlier time of the SCP Foundation, like maybe in like the 60s or 70s or whatever. So like they only had like so this is like an old like SCP, like an old like declassified document kind of photo. Which were generally just like using cameras from the time period, so like black and white photos and such.
Yeah, you might be right. I never thought about that. I always just assumed this is modern time. But that's not always the case.
No, because like this is an technically this is an archive of different entries from different periods, and unless it tells you a date, it may not necessarily always be modern.
I kind of wish the picture said like a case of SCP-1678A under containment in a newspaper. from a
or
local newspaper.
Yeah, or even like photo taken in 1967 or something like that.
Yeah.
Or 78.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's what I got about the photo. And then we dive into the actual quotes I have. The city has been constructed to resemble the city as it was in the Victorian era, with constructions designed to resemble traditional gaslighting prevalent on the streets, and with all modern buildings in the original City of London being represented in a Victorian style of architecture, most notably the skyscrapers of the business district. Oh God, it's all just mimics, or it's just one big mimic, like or some similar like type of organism, but it's doing its best to generate the appearance of Victorian London while stuck underground and mimicking the layout of the above ground version of itself, and it's just gotten stuck on Victorian era.
Mm-hmm.
Either that or
Really
it's
likes that style.
yeah. I mean, yeah. Oh my God, it's a mimic that's a steampunk cosplayer.
Yeah,
Yeah,
makes sense to me.
it's the mother of all mimics because it's like just massive in scale.
Mm-hmm.
Man, some flesh god decided to just really want to conduct an experiment or something. Just like it's like I'm just going to build this thing and tweak and twerk it or tweak it so that it
don't twerk it.
just twerk it and just tweak it so that it's stuck on this one style. It's obsessed with this style of architecture. Yeah, it's like those siege mimics I threw at you in our Eberron campaign, eh, gamer?
Yeah,
the building mimics.
Yeah.
But I'll move on to the next thing I have here. SCP-1678 is believed to have been constructed instantaneously by unknown means, with the SCP-1678 House of Parliament serving as the epicenter for the construction process. This is evidenced by the fact that as distance from the House of Parliament increases, there is an exponentially increasing frequency of flaws in the construction of SCP-1678, such as houses built entirely out of copper pipes or other unconventional materials, gas lights being little more than a metal rod topped with a floating orb of light, buildings containing no floors, and at the furthest explored distance of from the epicenter, no windows or doors. And so I read this part and I was like, okay, maybe not so much mimics as this is really giving me like video game simulation vibes a little bit, like Minecraft. When you build like a nice cool like building or city like village, and then a creeper comes in and like blows up, and like it blows up parts of the buildings and like architecture. So like, but like because of the physics of Minecraft, things stay in the air. They don't fall like to the ground. So like you just have like a light, like if you had a light on top of like a light post that you'd built on part of your road, the post itself is gone, but the light is still up in the air.
Yeah.
It was like that kind of thing. Or it even kind of reminded me of the generative game engine for city construction from like Ubisoft games, like Assassin's Creed Syndicate, or like any of the Assassin's Creed games, really, because I think once they started doing like the Paris stuff, they create an engine that simulates city structure, like city design and building, much more. It wasn't like handcrafted; it was like generated.
Yeah.
And or even like Watch Dogs Legion, which is set in London and uses the same kind of technology.
Yeah, there's a lot of video games too where it's like there's a draw distance thing. So once something gets past a certain draw distance, it renders like, a low poly version of it, which is basically what's happening here.
Yeah, it's just like so it's and the errors and the glitches extending like at the extended limits really also sparked like that idea of like the generative simulation that's like, again, it only has a draw distance, right? Like so it's just like at the epicenter is like where like its main like power focus is, and then as it gets to the outer limits, just like this or it's just like it hasn't properly popped in yet. And like maybe it's sort of like a mini version of like the whole like we're in a simulation concept, or just a crazy experiment left to dwell beneath the city it's replicating, just in a different era, like some kind of like weird social experiment, or like some kind of weird like maybe not hologram, or but like yeah, like some kind of like weird like um so some weird reality altering like thing that allows for the creation of like city material instantaneously, rather than having to build a building from scratch. It just like somebody's found a way to basically tap into Carcosa or like the Dreamlands or something, if you're going like the Mythos route, to just like instantaneously pop in a city in our reality.
And I wonder if it's Victorian, because like this whole thing started in Victorian time.
I
And
actually
like
have
as
yeah.
the city above
Yeah.
has been expanding, it expands in kind to match it. So over the years, it's just keeping the same orientation as the city. It's just it only knows the one style for everything.
Yeah. Like I feel like this would be great for if you're gonna run a like a base raiders game or something like that. In that tabletop game they have what's called a build a base, which is basically it's a fabricator bomb that like you put it down, you put this fabricator down, this like this box, and you punch in like some pre-programmed things of what you want in your base, and then it takes as long as you have the raw materials around it. So like basically like you put this in a small cave underneath, like a kilometer underneath London, and tell it, I want you to replicate the city of London above, but in Victorian style, and then quickly get away so that you don't get processed.
Yeah.
And then it basically it replicates, like it's a self-replicating like engine basically at the very center of this.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be really cool if it was like actually like some kind of like a self-replicating or like self-fabricating engine at the with like a with an AI or something like that at the very base, at the very center of it in the House of Parliament.
It is weird that they haven't been able to get into the House of Parliament yet.
Well, because they keep running into the bobbies, which are pretty tough.
Yeah, you need explosives to deal with them, I believe.
Yeah, like high caliber munitions or explosives to properly dispose of them. And actually, even like the bobbies themselves, like we see them in and even some of the audio transcripts we get from like the miscellaneous audio transcripts we get from that like pipe in through like through various speakers in the city. It felt that all felt very BioShock. Or even that Canadian there's a Canadian video game, I think it's from Montreal. We Happy Few, I think is called.
Yep.
Yeah, it felt very We Happy Few, because that's also or like a like a roguelike. Like all the neighborhoods and stuff that are randomly generated when you're jumping in.
That was also Victorian, isn't it?
Yeah, well, 60s.
Is it?
Had like a 50s and 60s, but it's in England, so like you're gonna have the bobbies in their outfits and such too. So yeah. And actually also like with regards to the SCP-1678D, which is this like food supplement that they have. Mm-hmm. That also kind of reminds me of We Happy Few, now that I think of it, because like in We Happy Few you're supposed to like take these happy pills. Yes. And it's basically the only thing that people eat, and like it makes you feel bad, or like it's not good for you, but it makes you feel good. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what this food supplement paste does. Which I found out. So like Fallout 4, it's quite kind of a tangent, but we're talking about video games and like this, like how this entry kind of reminds us of certain video games. Fallout 4 also actually had something where like you go into a school and you find out that they were doing an experiment. I think it was through Vault Tech as well, where they were just, instead of like normal food, like students were not allowed to bring into school like a lunchbox or anything like that. They were supposed to eat whatever the food supplement they had that the school was using. And it was basically just this pink paste, like nutrition paste. And you'd find, as you were going through the school and you were hunting down the ghouls, you would see that the ghouls all in the school were vibrant pink, kind of insinuating that they were the former students or teachers that had been consuming this paste, because the paste would also make you pink, or a lot more pink than normal. Mm-hmm. And that whole thing was actually based off a real actual like not experiment, but like a program that was conducted in, I think, the United States, where they took meat, like certain like types of meat, certain grades of meat, and just kind of pureed them into a paste. And that was going to be a food supplement for schools. In like I think in like the 50s and 60s. I don't think it went very far because like it wasn't very good for you.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was the bare bones good for you, but like you needed more. but yeah, basically what we're saying here is like this whole entry is a really good example of like, or it really kind of reminds you of like various video games and stuff and games that have come out where like you're trapped in a city that's made for some purpose and then abandoned, or something's gone wrong and it's been forgotten and you're stuck in it and trapped in the to deal with the automated defenses and such like that.
Mm-hmm.
And you're getting all these weird propaganda things and stuff as well,
like that Saints Row game where you're in a simulation.
Well, yeah, that too. Yeah, there's also that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll move on to the next thing I have here. Most explored buildings within SCP-1678 appear to have been outfitted for the purpose of extremely dense inhabitation, with closely grouped steel bunk beds, a common feature in any building suitable for the purpose. Foundation researchers have advised that most explored buildings within SCP-1678 are unfit for human habitation due to a high propensity for mold, or a high preponderance. That is a new word on me.
Actually, yeah, I was gonna look that one up. I didn't.
I kind of think I know what it means, but like wow, it's a
preponderance of mold.
Yeah.
The hell's a preponderance? I know we get it. Like there's a
high,
there's a lot of it.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Preponderance is the quality or fact of being greater in number, quantity, or importance.
There we go. Yeah. So it's a high number of mold, damp air, and yeah.
High frequency.
High frequency. Yeah. Yeah. Due to a high preponderance of mold, damp, and poor construction within these buildings. Some buildings are outfitted for other purposes, most notably SCP-1678's version of the Natural History Museum, which is featuring an exhibit titled "The Fall of Man" and contains representations of several known SCP entities and images and artwork depicting apocalyptic settings. Okay, so Mimic aside, put that away for a second. And even like maybe even the fabricator, although I really like that idea now more than the Mimic, I think, is the fact that it's just like a self-replicating, self-fabricating city that's stuck on a certain style. What if this is like an early project or protocol, or even an early incarnation of the SCP program? Or like an instance of a parallel universe bleeding into our current reality, or like the current reality of the SCP that we find this entry in. Like this is some other universe's version of the SCP Foundation that was started a little bit earlier, and it just happened to physically shift into our reality that it's currently in. Maybe something in that reality went wrong, and or their protocols for the use of SCP entities like the bobbies and stuff like that is a bit more lenient than when faced with the prospect of an XK event. So like maybe this is like either a forgotten version of the SCP protocol, like from like Victorian era, that was just left alone, or like left down underneath London and forgotten until like it was found again. Or maybe it's actually like from another universe, and it's their version of the SCP Foundation, and it just bled in to our universe.
But it's not meant to contain the SCPs. It's meant to protect humanity.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Like that's what I mean. Like it's like it was used as it was created either in the early days of the SCP Foundation, as a way to as a way to protect humanity, like the last bastions of humanity, but from some like XK event.
Yeah.
But either it's been corrupted or it's been usurped by this mysterious intelligence that keeps talking about, like, it's like, don't worry, I will signal the call when the creatures are dead and stuff like that, and we will rise like a phoenix, kind of thing, in the propaganda and stuff. And then like it's because it's clear like it's some kind of entity or some kind of intelligence is orchestrating what's going on in the city. But it's just been left either abandoned or like forgotten underground by the SCP Foundation. Or again, like maybe it's like this was like the predecessor group before the SCP Foundation was started to what we know today. Or like it was maybe just redacted out of protocols, and so like that it wasn't until it was finally rediscovered that like they're suddenly realizing like that maybe like that could be actually a cool thing for a story, is like people looking through the city and finding notation of this like ye old SCP protocol. Like they find some old pamphlets in like one of the buildings that are like, well, this definitely seems like our kind of like our paperwork and our kind of layout, like our bureaucratic literature and stuff. But it dates back to like the time when these buildings were created. Like this makes no sense unless we don't have the clearance for this. Only 05, the Council of 05s does. Or again, like maybe this is like, again, like a parallel universe that's bled into our universe, and so now like suddenly like there's just this project from like their universe, like something went wrong and it slipped into our universe, and now we have this structure.
I think it's just from ours, and it's just
yeah.
They're like, for all we know, in the Natural History Museum, there's just a guy that started all this. Like he grabbed some SCP entity from back in the day, and it basically told him of the end of days. He's like, okay, fuck, I'm gonna go make this place to protect everyone and make it a huge bunker. And then he's trying to survive the whole time. And by the time that people get to the Natural History Museum, could just be a skeleton there, because like he died on the food that isn't very good to survive on.
Yeah, basically.
It's all recordings, right?
Yeah, that's exactly it. Like it's all like pre-recorded stuff. Like that's what I mean. Like it definitely fits the bill of like those kind of games where like you stumbled upon a city that is automated, and was supposed to like be like a way of the future, but then like all the inhabitants were killed off by the automation.
Yep.
Also, it's not like we haven't encountered creatures or entities that have like wanted to protect humanity from like other entities in the past. Like there's
999.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's 999, the adorable little goofball. But I meant like
multiple people.
But I mean like the admiral or the fisherman guy. I can't remember his actual name, but the fisherman who hauls or Hull and Hank. That's his name.
Mm-hmm.
Like it could be one of those.
Yes.
Yeah. But like various like there are like various entities that apparently have been around with humanity since like the dawn of our species, and have been trying to protect us. So like that could be one of like these beings that was helped build this structure, and then like but again, because it's an SCP entity, like it doesn't quite understand humanity, and so like all the automation kind of like got fucked up or weird and is actually hazardous to us.
For all we know, at the start it was completely fine, but over time the AI that's controlling everything kind of like devolved everything into making it not work very well, because as far as it knows, this is the most efficient way to make food.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like and that's a sci-fi staple. Like that's like what happens when you're having a generation ship where like an AI is going to like help automate all these like big things and so that, while we sit in this starship to get to from one place to another, and it will take generations. So, and then the AI like degrades or corrupts or realizes there's a more efficient way to do things. And the problem is like these pesky human populations keep getting in the way. It's like, well, maybe I'll just like shrink down the population enough so that's manageable, and then like it starts working to its own ends, not ours.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So basically, like I think I'm going to be bringing this up later in my notes, but like this is basically strong fodder for like a tabletop scenario or even a campaign, I think. Like this whole setting. But yeah, like I know like with the parallel universe stuff versus like the like it being an early rendition or an early project of the SCP Foundation, like I'm not saying either or, but like I'm just saying like I'm brainstorming some ideas as to like what's going on here. But I'll move on to the next thing I have. Yeah, this one. So I read this and like because of something I'd read earlier in the entry, it had an extra level of dread connotations to it. So I'll read the first part here. Or I'll read the part that I read like later in the story, and then like because I'd read something earlier, I was like, oh no. So instances of SCP-1678A are extremely resilient to damage, with only high caliber rounds and explosive weapons proving sufficient to destroy them. They are believed to originate from a building named Bryson's Home for the Poor, as evidenced by an inmate-style jumpsuit worn under the uniform. And at that, I was like, oh no. Because when you read the list of miscellaneous audio broadcasts that are transcripted in this entry, you get this one. Can't make ends meet? Don't be ashamed. Bryson's Home for the Poor is here to help. It's just like, oh, they're turning their poor and like homeless into these flesh golems.
That's not the one I connected to. The one I connected to was which one is that? Crime will not be tolerated in Unlondon. I warn you, the tormentors of society will become its defenders.
Oh shit! Anyone
who commits a crime gets turned into a body.
Yeah.
But again, who are these people committing crimes? Because there's no one left. Oh my god. Oh my god. There was probably a bunch of people here.
Yeah, no, there was.
Time, all of them either became poor or committed crimes, and all of them turned into the bobbies.
All of them were grabbed by the bobbies or what have you and brought in for processing. Yeah.
Or they're the wretches or whatever they are.
Yeah, I still don't like. I think they might be a construct, or they might just be like another SCP entity that's in the city. They're the one like they're out of all like because I'm also wondering it's like do certain oh god if people had families like if there were like families that like hunkered down here early on, did the children get like reprocessed into those eyes in the sky? Because it doesn't specifically say that so the eyes in the sky, I think they're called I think that's B or C. I think it's B. They are created. They're constructs similar to the bobbies, but like with they're bio constructs. So like it doesn't mention like specifically like the meat or the muscle that is used to make them, but it's just like a processed like biomass.
Yeah.
So it could be like just the leftovers from the bobbies process.
Could be, yeah.
Or it could be children.
I don't know.
But yeah, so
the way that I was first reading this is like they had this set up for when the end days come, and no one is actually living here yet, and all that.
Yeah.
But because like bobbies are being processed and made, and they're still here, like it makes me feel like there was a bunch of people that did go down here.
Yeah.
And over time, they've all been turned into them.
I think that's exactly what's happened. There was an initial group of people like living in the city, and then now they are the city.
Yep.
But yeah, honestly, I think this could be a really great game fodder like setting. Like a location created to survive some devastating attack from a magical or eldritch entity or entities. Then forgotten by time until an organization or even just a team of borers like digging tunnels for various underground projects up above break through into the recess where the city is, and the various like automated defenses, i.e. the bobbies and other like creatures that get summoned are like these Frankenstein's monstered up amalgams of the unfortunate citizens that were here, and the automated defenses are looking for new fodder or new material, and so it would go very BioShock very quick. And I could easily see this like using this material for like a dungeon crawl kind of game where like this is the dungeon, the subterranean city is your dungeon.
Yeah.
And you're either
I would like to know is how the hell the SCP Foundation found out about this being a kilometer under London.
Well, I'm wondering if it was probably I wish it would maybe it would be nice if they added it into like how it was discovered. Like
another entity, maybe another SCP entity told them about it.
I'm thinking honestly, it like I brought up earlier. I think it's just like the subterranean some underground digging team, like for a corporation up above, just accidentally like broke through to like a tunnel that led down here.
Oh, so they didn't necessarily dig down a kilometer. But why would there be a tunnel leading there?
They need it. Well, I mean, if this is an old project that was was going to be used for the evacuation of like the city's citizens above, there would have to be some kind of a tunnel going back up to the surface. So like maybe it collapsed or something like that, partially, thus hiding the structure, and then. But like it just took like some team above, like that was closer to the surface to like break through down into the down there.
Yeah, I suppose I would like to have clarification with that.
Yeah, that would definitely be something that would be worth adding to the scenario or to the entry. Because again, otherwise it's like maybe somebody within the SCP Foundation found documentation. It's like, hey guys, we have this old project. It's heavily redacted. The only thing that's not redacted is London and some coordinates. Should we send a team down to find out what the hell this is? Or even actually, I think it would be even cooler if like so like what if and this might be more just for like me brainstorming for a game idea. There's a slew of disappearances on the surface London that leads the characters investigating to find out that some of the bobbies are found a way up to the surface, like through tunnels or through like secret maintenance tunnels and stuff. And they're grabbing people off the street that they perceive to be criminals or homeless, and bring them back down to the down to that to the processing facility.
Yeah, but to what end? Why would they need to do that?
A corrupted automation system, like the system's just become corrupted over the years. Like that shit happens all the time. Like things break. No, I mean like I don't mean like, but like computers bug out, break down. Like programming doesn't always work the way you want it to. Yeah, automation needs maintenance, and if it's left alone for decades, it's going to break down and going to become faulty.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Sorry not to bring up a sore spot for you there, gamer.
Yeah, my 10-year-old computer, a decade-old computer, started time.
And it started what?
Connective tissues time.
Oh man. But yeah. I guess I'll move on to the next. Oh yeah, so yeah, basically, like, I was wholeheartedly ready to like just dive into this with this is very gameable. This whole entry, and even the mentions of SCP-1678 B, C, and D, like on the same train of thought as like of like making this gameable. Between the flying surveillance creatures and the beggars that explode into black smoke when you give them stuff. And even like the paste, like you could throw that as like they're like these other entities and instances residing in the city are just further fodder and like obstacles and traps to throw at your players in a dungeon crawl scenario or even a campaign. Like the whole campaign could just be your characters trapped down here. Like maybe they woke up down here, or maybe they fell in here from like when they were caving underneath the city of London. And it also doesn't even necessarily have to be London. It could just be any major city in the world. Like you could set this in where there's a history of the city being built over top of an old city, sort of thing. Like, there are tons of old European cities that were built on like the newer built off the stratum of older like cities and stuff like that. There are whole buildings and roadways and stuff like that underneath various old cities. Like heck, even in North America, there's rumors to be like for Toronto and Chicago and even New York have whole sections, like whole neighborhoods that are built over top of old neighborhoods. Like it's like a layered cake of city. So you could definitely kind of like play with that kind of idea of like this again, the mole people or like the subterranean, like or like the root. Your characters are like investigating like urban legends of like the mole men or like some subterranean urban legend and like going down into the sewer systems, and then they find, or even the subway systems, and they find some breach in one of the walls that goes down into a tunnel that looks manufactured as on the other side of it. And as you start going down, suddenly there's a collapse on the above you, so trapping you down. So the only way to progress is forward and down, and that's when you come across the city in this large cave expanse, and it looks exactly like the city above, except for all these horrible monsters and stuff that are residing in it. Yeah, like so basically this is basically a pre-baked setting rife for gaming, and I love to see it when it comes to SCPs.
Yeah, for sure.
Then we have my last thing here from SCP-1678D, Roll, Food Supply, aka Dr. Goody's Wonder Food. It has the same consistency and taste as porridge, as advertised. It contains all the nutrients necessary for short-term survival. However, Foundation researchers have advised that over a period of more than 6 weeks, users of SCP-1678D will become dangerously underweight due to the low levels of fat and protein within SCP-1678D, and are at strong likelihood of contracting illnesses such as scurvy if survival is attempted by consuming 1678D alone. You know, the SCP Foundation knows this because they tested this on D class.
Oh yeah, for sure, definitely,
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, over the course of 6 weeks of just consuming 1678D, they will become dangerously underweight due to the. It's like, you guys fucking just used D classes on this, didn't you? It's like, duh. The D stands for duh.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's like
It's kind of shady, but it's for the greater
good. Sure.
It's just D class. They're hard to beat.
Some may say it's justified. Also, when it read like AKA Dr. Goody's Wonder Food, I was like, hang on, I think I've heard that name before. I was mistaken. I thought I for some reason I thought Dr. Goody's Wonder Food was like, wait, is this like linking like Dr. Wondertainment and his like creepy like life-like dolls and animated dolls and stuff like that to this? No, it's Dr. Goody is not Dr. Wondertainment.
Okay.
It's just another catchy brand, again similar to like the kind of branding that you'd see in BioShock or other games like in Rapture and stuff like that. So it's like it's just a branding thing. It's like Dr. Goody's Wonder Food. Don't be a sucker.
He's a doctor, so he knows what he's doing.
Yeah. A Wonder Food a day keeps the doctor away. Yeah. But yeah, so that's what I've got for my actual thoughts. Like reading through this, I really enjoyed the material and like was just like seeing a campaign or at least a scenario, like a one-shot scenario in my head of like throwing players into this hellhole.
It would be a bad time.
Mm-hmm. So what are you doing there next Friday, gamer? For maybe Want to do a one shot on one less die?
I don't know. We'll see.
Yep. But yeah, gamer, what do you have for your actual thoughts?
Let's see what I got left. So when I read SCP-1678 is a full-scale mirror image reconstruction of the British city of London, located exactly 1 kilometer underneath the original city of London. When I read that, I'm like, I audibly went, "What? That shit's cool."
Yeah.
Like, I like that all this is going on literally under the noses of so many people.
Mm-hmm. And it's far enough down that like it makes it that it could be there.
Yeah, exactly. I guess it's part of the it aids with immersion because it could theoretically be happening in our real world because it's way the hell down there. It doesn't influence us at all. Yeah. But it's totally there, guys.
Yeah. Oh, and like again, like it. I've said this before. I said this earlier. Like there are so many different like underground urban legends around like multiple cities across the world. Like Toronto, apparently under apparently under like a certain neighborhood in Toronto, there's a city of monsters dwelling. Or there's in one of the bays near Toronto, there's a secret underground alien UFO base, and that's just Toronto. Like Chicago, there's apparently an undercity. London has some like some various like rumors of an undercity. Paris has the catacombs. There's the mole men that live under New York City. Like there's enough urban legends in our own world to make this kind of plausible.
Yeah. But yeah. The next one. Countless billions have been slaughtered in their attempt to sate their endless appetite for death, and there was nothing we could do to stop them. At first, I was going to suggest this was going to be in grammar.
Mm-hmm.
So at first, I was going to suggest to make the correction from going is nothing to was nothing ellipsed out, but the dash makes it so it's more like an instant correction, not like a drawn out dramatic correction.
Yeah.
So the difference would be like the way it is now is there is nothing, was nothing we could do to stop them.
Yeah.
Whereas like ellipsed would be like there is nothing, was nothing we could do to stop them. You know, like so the quick. I kind of appreciate the quicker one. Yeah. Because it might also be because like whoever recorded this knew exactly what was going to happen. Clearly he does. But he had to like correct himself while recording this because he has to remember that this recording is for those who have already seen this, not what is going to happen.
Yeah.
So I kind of like that flub in the recording.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like it adds a little bit more character to the like it adds or more personality to like whoever's talking because like they are reading off a script and then like you to see them falter or flaw or like have a flaw means that like they are at the very least like when they're broadcasting that they care about what they're saying or at least like have some kind of like it's not just like an automated it's not necessarily just like an automated message.
Yeah,
somebody actually had to read like off a script to this, not a computer.
Yes, for sure. And then during the entrance transcript, it says, "Let the world above burn. We will endure. Let the monsters have their world. We will prepare and..." Oh, there's a front end. Oh, no. And let the ground tremble with a new Armageddon. As evil consumes itself, I tell you, citizen, upon the day of what word is that?
Upon the day...
Ruination? Ruination.
Yeah,
on the day of ruination of man, whatever hell that word means, their insatiable appetites will turn them against one another. In their endless lust for death, we will wait. So, reading that, I was kind of like, is this the origin story for the Locust from Gears of War? Because it kind of sounds like it.
It's very much like that. It also kind of
ground and like biding their time until they like burst forth and be like with a Victorian minigun.
It's very much like I was also getting Gears of War vibes just because of the aesthetic as well, because it's like modern buildings but in like Victorian period like architecture, which is very similar to the architecture of the human cities. Like they're modern cities, but they have like this Art Deco or like kind of Gothic design to them. Also, like this speech is very again reminiscent of like again the BioShock speeches that you hear, but also like when you were reading it, I was also kind of getting getting thrown back to like when I watched Planet of the Apes, and one of the I think it was like Caesar or one of the various apes does like a speech about like how this is the dawn of the Planet of the Apes kind of thing, and it has a very similar like kind of gravitas, which I think is also similar to. I think it's supposed to also like emulate this speech is also supposed to emulate the kind of speech of like Winston Churchill, which is which was the wartime prime minister of London during like World War I or II. And a lot of his speeches were actually like his type of speeching and stuff like that was the inspiration for like the Planet of the Apes speech. So it's like that kind of like, we will drive the gorillas off our shores, or something like that lines. Like if you were to use like Winston Churchill's like voice for like a speech in the Planet of the Apes, like it would sound very kind of like what you hear here.
Yeah. Also, ruination is apparently the act or fact of ruining someone or something, or of being ruined.
Yeah.
So the day of ruination of man.
Of man. Yeah. It's the day that man got ruined.
Oh yeah, sorry. For some reason, I read that as the day of ruination of man was like when they showed back up. But no.
Oh, okay. No,
talking about that's when they got ruined. And, yeah. That's when everyone is hiding.
Yep.
Yeah. We will wait. Yeah. Okay.
And I tell you, citizens, that there will be a new morning, and you will emerge from London, undone, and stand blinking in the sun as our children play and laugh in the bones of horrors long dead. I'm like reading it again. Like now I'm trying to actually add like a Winston Churchill afflection to it now, and I can't unhear that now.
That's just the way it is now.
Yep.
So then my next one. I love that there's a whole world down there with like a bunch of their own problems that they have to deal with. Like through the transcripts alone, we know that they have to deal with mimetic beings, cortex worms, evil quote unquote walking in human flesh, the pattern screamer, and the slaver man. Like, since this is a whole city, this is big enough literally and physically to have so many other SCPs and SCP tales take place within it.
Oh, 100%. Like
it's already listed some that you can already start with.
Like legit, I want to I want to run a campaign more and more. There's just so much to explore in this idea, in this concept.
Yep. And then my next one, just talking about how like the Natural History Museum has an exhibit called The Fall of Man, which contains representations of several known SCP entities and images and artwork depicting apocalyptic settings. So, first off, that's awesome. Second off, whoever or whatever made on London is basically calling out a number of SCPs as the reason that mankind will fall. Yeah. And I kind of wish we had a list of which ones are listed there, because they know that the exhibit's there.
Yeah, like the Foundation, the Foundation who made this entry, they're like, there's a bunch of SCP entries that we have on file. We're not going to mention them here, but trust us.
Redact them.
Yeah, exactly.
That is important information that if this is true, if this prophecy is true, we need that information.
Yeah. And I 100% agree. I think like even redacting it, because like obviously like from a writer's point of view, maybe the person just wanted to leave it ambiguous as to like oh yeah, there's SCPs there, but leave it ambiguous for future writer to come up with. But I think the redacted thing would also would be the nice in between ground for that.
Yep. And because SCPs are all numbered, it's so easy to redact them and have no freaking idea what it is, because it's just blocks of 4 text or blocks of 2 or 3 text. So like 3 characters, because it's just numbers. It's either going to be 1, 2, 3, or 4 characters. I don't think they're up to 5 characters yet, are they?
Actually,
have they got past 9999?
They're on. Hang on a second. They are currently at 7,999.
They're getting there.
Let's see. What's at the very the last one is the last one is SCP-7999. Meet me in the stars. Wow.
And then obviously along from 1 to 7999, there's I'm sure a bunch of empty spots that haven't been taken.
Oh yeah,
too.
Yeah. There not a lot, but there are. But yeah, like right now, like we're currently in series. Hang on, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're currently in series 8 of SCPs because they go by like every 1,000 entries.
Yeah.
So.
Pretty nuts.
Yeah.
Yes, a list would be nice. Also, how do they know about this exhibit if they can't get into the Natural History Museum?
I thought they could get into the Natural Museum. They can't get into the House of Parliament or the House of Parliament. Yeah.
You're absolutely right. I mixed those up.
It's fine.
Mm-hmm. And then the Bobbies, we actually talked about.
Mm-hmm. They're cool.
So, yeah, that's the end of my notes.
Yeah. All right. Well, I suppose we'll move on to final thoughts then. Yeah, I'm still going to recommend this one. It's a really cool concept that I would love to see explored more. And I certainly want to like use this for a tabletop scenario, if not a campaign, of like people who who fall in like the modern day, who fall through like some tunnel while they're exploring, like urban exploring into these cave systems and into the city, or run it in Vossen, and your citizens that you're the test citizens going down to like to live there when something goes wrong and you're trapped down there as like 19th century characters or Victorian era characters. Dealing and and with Vossen you can just like basically make SCPs, like make the various entities as Vossen. So it would be a lot more like, I think it would be a lot more lethal campaign than what I've run in the past for Vossen, but
no problem.
Because yeah, like it'd be ripe for it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's my recommendations and final thoughts. I recommend Gamer.
Yeah, honestly, I love the read. Some huge city in the ground, ready for when the world will burn from all the other SCPs affecting our world.
Yeah,
that's just cool. And like with the amount of SCPs on site, like on the website, I'm not surprised that this will happen in the lore, because like this Earth is just overrun by this shit.
Yeah. Like
so much.
I know there is there is a canon of like stories where it's like the SCP Foundation is now in space. Or they finally sent off a majority of the SCPs they found on Earth to another planet as like to a colony or something like that.
If they have abilities to do that, they should just do that with most of these.
Just
dump them off in the garbage world.
Well, again, like but I think that setting is also in like in the future, like it's a futuristic setting. But yeah, I'm also actually I decided like right now, like maybe there's an Unlondon, like there's some stories set in Unlondon, and I'm not actually seeing anything really pop up in the search outside of the scenario, outside of the entry that we have, and I think that is doing a disservice to Unlondon.
Yeah, like what I was about to say directly next. Yeah. It's a neat, creepy idea that has so much room for expansion and progression, both from the Foundation trying to get a better foothold in there, and also in the form of just what it's like living down there. Like if there is someone living down there, you can get transcripts from them and stuff like that, or SCP tales and stuff and all that. You know.
So I actually retract my my previous statement. There is apparently a story set in London. It's called SCP-001 WDB Unlondon. When Day Breaks. So I think it's set.
Not the first SCP.
No, well, remember SCP-001 has so many different SCP, like so many different variants of it, right? From different like canons.
Oh yeah, okay.
Like SCPs, yeah, like it's basically like it's a waiting declassification because there's so many different SCP variants of it, right? But yeah, no, this one, it looks like it's actually like a story, like a series of of entries that are like done up as a story, like recordings. And I wonder if this is like I think this is actually like a story, like this is like actually, a story either, I think it's after, like, or when the time for Unlondon to rise happens. We may have to look into this, into when day breaks, because that seems really cool.
Yeah.
But so, but yeah, ultimately, you're going to recommend this one?
Yeah, I'm still recommending it. I'm not going to change that.
Okay.
It is cool.
Mm-hmm.
It's a neat idea.
That's pretty neat.
It is pretty neat. I don't know how much it is nature, but it's neat anyways.
Ungodly nature.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess that'll do it for this week's episode. If you like what you heard, or if you didn't, leave us a comment in the comment section below where this gets posted. We're both on Twitter, kind of. The Gamer in Yellow is at the Gamer in Yellow without that W at the end, because redacted.
Yep.
And I'm at Review Cultist. I'm also on Blue Sky at Review Cultist, so you can check me out there. You can also send us emails at aldentarigamortis@gmail.com. That's ALDENTERIGAMORTIS@gmail.com. Or you can also leave us suggestions for other creepypastas, SCPs, spooky things. You creep it, we'll peep it. Yeah! And if you'd like to help support our show financially, you can go to Patreon. Select the back tier that supports that. We have $2 and $5 tiers with special episodes, early access, extra content. To our patrons that are helping support the show, thank you immensely. You're helping keep those hosting bills at bay. And as always, we very much appreciate that. And to our listeners and the authors of these stories, thank you immensely, because without your listenership, it'd be like screaming into the void. And seriously, without your authorship, without the people out there that create SCP entries and post them on the wikis,
thousands of SCP entries,
the thousands of SCP entries, and to look at it, and this one specifically, because I think this is probably one of my favorite setting sort of SCPs. Like a lot of the SCPs are just like a creature or something like that you can throw anywhere. This is an entire setting.
Yeah.
And that's so fucking cool.
The other setting from recent memory was the Endless IKEA.
Yeah.
But this is bigger than that.
Yeah, and it's also, I think the Endless IKEA, it's good, don't get me wrong.
Yes.
This one is so much more tightly knit, I feel. Like it's more contained.
Mm-hmm. More secured.
Yeah.
Contained and protected.
Yes, clearly. But no, regardless, thank you, because if you didn't write these and post them online, we wouldn't have much of a show because we'd have nothing to talk about. So thank you. Until next time, I have been your host, Review Claus.
And I'm the Grinch in Yellow.
And this has been Al Dente Rigamortis. For SCP-Cember, sleep well.